What happens aback two of the best abrupt personalities in media sit bottomward above from anniversary added, and annihilation is off limits. You're about to acquisition out. Today, we're breaking bottomward the atomic moment that Cypher saw coming. The account that went absolutely off the balustrade and the battle that concluded with Aegis absolutely convoying Edition off the stage. Stick about, because this is the affectionate of television moment that bodies are still talking about. Accomplish abiding, you hit that subscribe button and beat a animate version because you won't accept how this chat spirals. Let's get into it. The Admirers is active with apprehension as Trevor Noah sits at his desk, ambiguity his cards, and casual against the blind area his abutting bedfellow will emerge. The activity in the flat is electric. That accustomed pre-innistriction area anybody can feel article cogent is about to happen. Trevor makes an animate version to the Admirers about the accent of the chat ahead. Article about how this accurate bedfellow consistently brings out absorbing discussions. He's smiling, confident, the way a acclimatized allocution appearance host would be. He's interviewed affluents of arguable abstracts before. He knows how to cross difficult waters. The music hits and the bedfellow walks out. The Admirers erupts in applause. Some cheering, some booing, the archetypal alloyed acknowledgement you'd expect. He all-overs Trevor's Duke firmly, maybe a little too firmly, and sits down. There's article about his anatomy accent anon that suggests he's not actuality to ball it safe. He's sitting aback in the chair, accoutrements hardly crossed, the aspect of Edition who's already in a confrontational mindset afore a distinct catechism has been asked. Trevor wastes no time. He opens with article about benign, allurement about contempo activities and accessible statements, but his bedfellow is already bristling. The aboriginal absolute barter happens aback. Trevor brings up a specific quote, article that bedfellow said in an accent about the media and its role in society. The bedfellow leans advanced now, aback animated. He says the adduce was taken absolutely out of context, that the media consistently does this, twists words to fit a narrative. Trevor pushes aback gently, suggesting that the ambience didn't absolutely change the acceptation of what was said. This is area, the temperature in the allowance starts to shift. The guest's articulation gets sharper. He's not babble yet, but there's an bend to every word. He accuses Trevor of actuality allotment of the problem, of blame a accurate calendar rather than allurement 18-carat questions. Trevor maintains his composure, but there's a new acuteness in his eyes. He's no best aloof activity through the motions of an interview. He's actively agreeable with the accusation, and he doesn't acknowledge actuality lumped in with what the bedfellow considers a base institution. The chat continues, bouncing aback and alternating amid assorted topics. The bedfellow makes ample statements about how the ball industry operates, how celebrities and media abstracts use their platforms to access people. Trevor challenges some of these points. Alms counter. The bedfellow responds by accepting added personal. He starts analytic Trevor's background, his perspective, whether Edition in Trevor's position could possibly accept the apropos of accustomed Americans. Trevor's face tightens aloof slightly. This is the moment area you can see article about face abaft his eyes. He's been attacked abandoned before, but there's article about this accurate bandage of analytic that's hitting differently. He responds by accepting added direct, the bedfellow that he thinks he's actuality intellectually dishonest, that he's authoritative across-the-board generalizations afterwards any evidence. The bedfellow doesn't booty attentive to actuality alleged out for bookish dishonesty. The two of them are now in a absolute exact battle match. The Admirers has gone about absolutely quiet. Analysis that this has confused above the accustomed aback and alternating of a allocution appearance interview. Camera operators are exchanging glances. Alike, the bandage seems ambiguous whether they should be accessible to ball the bedfellow out or if article added is about to happen. The bedfellow is authoritative rapid-fire accusations now, suggesting that Trevor and bodies like him created an ambiance area. Assertive viewpoints can't be bidding afterwards adverse amusing consequences. Trevor listens to this and you can see him absolutely because the point for a moment, but afresh he comes aback with article that's been aggravation him throughout this accomplished exchange. He asks the bedfellow point bare whether he absolutely believes what he's adage or whether he's aloof arena a character, adage arguable things because that's what gets absorption and keeps him relevant. The catechism hangs in the air. It's the affectionate catechism that goes above activity altercation or political difference. It's analytic the guest's authenticity, his motives, his absolute access to accessible discourse. The guest's jaw clenches. His easily anchor the armrests of the chair. He says article that Trevor wasn't expecting. He suggests that Trevor abandoned has his job because of the blush of his skin, that the arrangement was attractive for a assorted articulation to accomplish themselves attending good, and that afterwards that Trevor would be aloof addition bootless actor aggravating to accomplish it in the industry. The words acreage heavy. The admirer's gasps. Some bodies are continuing up. Trevor's face goes bare for aloof a moment. That accurate affectionate of shock you get a back addition has said, article so claimed and so acicular that you charge a additional to activity. It. Aback, Trevor speaks again. His articulation is different. It's quieter, added controlled, but there's an acuteness beneath that's about added able than if he had yelled. He tells the bedfellow that he above a line, that there's a aberration amid antagonistic on activity or like analytic motives. But what the bedfellow aloof said was advised absolutely to wound, absolutely to demean, and had annihilation to do with the absolute chat they were having. Trevor says that he came into this account accommodating to a point in adequate faith, accommodating to accept to perspectives he adeptness not exceed with, but that adequate acceptance acutely abandoned goes one way. The bedfellow tries to respond, but Trevor holds up his hand. He's the host. He's in control. He tells the admirers that he doesn't anticipate this account can abide in any advantageous way. He's not activity to sit actuality and be insulted, and he's absolutely not activity to acquiesce addition to use his belvedere to accomplish claimed attacks that accept annihilation to do with the absolute issues at hand. The bedfellow starts to argue, adage that Trevor is actuality attenuate-skinned, that if he can bowl out criticism, he should be able to booty it. But Trevor is already authoritative, arresting to addition off stage. The bedfellow sees this and his face flushes with anger. He stands up from his armchair pointing at Trevor and adage that this is absolutely what he's been talking about. This is the botheration with bodies in the media. They allure addition on, they ask for their perspective. And the moment that angle challenges them personally, they shut it down. They can't handle actuality questioned. He's adage all of this while standing, his articulation accepting louder, the words advancing faster. He says that Trevor is proving his point perfectly. He's proving that there's no absolute chat anymore, aloof gatekeeper's chief who gets to allege and who doesn't. Trevor stands up as able-bodied now. He's analogous the guest's intensity, but advancement and awesome calm that somehow makes him assume alike added serious. He says that there's a massive aberration amid arduous someone's account and advancing them as a person. He tells the bedfellow that analytic his motives or his angle on the activity affair is fair game. That's what they're there to do. But what the bedfellow did was article abroad entirely. Trevor says that claimed attacks aren't debate. They're not discussion. They're aloof cruelty. And he's not activity to participate in it. The bedfellow is still standing, still gesturing, still aggravating to accomplish his point. He says that Trevor is actuality a hypocrite, that comedians accomplish claimed attacks all the time, that Trevor himself has fabricated jokes about accessible figures. Trevor acknowledges this. He says, yes, he makes jokes, sometimes claimed jokes, but there's an aberration amid ball and 18-karat cruelty. He says that ball punches up at power. It challenges authority, but what the bedfellow aloof did was bite down. It was meant to abase and hurt, not to appraisal or challenge. The bedfellow dismisses this acumen entirely. He says that Trevor is aloof arena semantics now, that he's aggravating to adumbrate abaft some moral framework that calmly allows him to do things while accusatory others for accomplishing the aforementioned thing. The bedfellow says that this is the botheration with the absolute media establishment. This careful morality, this affectation that Cypher anytime calls out, he's pacing now, effective about in advance of the board rather than sitting. He's architecture activity with every word, every accusation. The admirers is absolutely silent. The camera keeps rolling. Trevor watches him pace, and aback the bedfellow finishes this accurate rant, Trevor responds by adage article that acutely catches the bedfellow off guard. He says that he's noticed throughout this absolute account that the bedfellow hasn't absolutely answered a distinct, absolute question. Every time Trevor asks article specific, the bedfellow pivots to a broader allegation about the media, or the enactment, or hypocrisy. He says that it seems like the bedfellow isn't absorbed in absolute conversation. He's absorbed in bold abuse for an audience. The bedfellow stops pacing. He turns anon to Trevor and says that's absolutely the affectionate of adjournment he's talking about. He's aggravating to accept the austere chat about absolute problems, and Trevor is abbreviation it to him, aloof, bold outrage. He says that Trevor can't handle the actuality that addition is arduous his worldview. So, he's aggravating to discredit the actuality rather than appoint with the substance. Trevor responds by allurement him to name one specific thing, one accurate activity or activity that he wants to discuss. Aloof, one thing. Let's allocution about it. Let's absolutely appoint with it. The bedfellow starts to answer, but afresh stops. He seems to apprehend that if he commits to discussing one specific thing, he loses the adeptness to accomplish across-the-board generalizations and ample accusations. He tries to axis again, adage that the above arrangement is what matters, not abandoned incidents. Trevor all overs his head. He says that this appropriate actuality is the problem. The bedfellow wants to criticize afterwards actuality specific, wants to adjudge afterwards alms alternatives, wants to advance afterwards defending. He's not absorbed in dialogue. He came actuality attractive for a belvedere to advertisement grievances, not to absolutely altercate anything. The guest's face is red now. He's affronted in a way that goes above the accustomed acrimonious debate. This seems claimed to him in a altered way. He leans advanced and tells Trevor that he's actuality acutely awless and that Trevor wouldn't allocution to him this way if they were off camera. Trevor meets his eyes anon and says that he would absolutely allocution to him this way, off camera or on camera, because boldness was accustomed the moment the bedfellow fabricated that claimed advance about his job and his background. He says that he approved to move accomplished it and abide the conversation, but the bedfellow acutely isn't absorbed in accomplishing that. The bedfellow afresh says article that escalates things significantly. He suggests that the acumen Trevor is so affronted is because what he said is true, that abysmal bottomward. Trevor knows he wouldn't accept fabricated it afterwards acknowledging activity or assortment initiatives, and that he's affronted because addition assuredly had the adventuresomeness to say it out loud. He's about acceleration bottomward on the attack, bold that Trevor's acknowledgement was arresting rather than principled. The admirers absolutely booze. Multiple bodies in the admirers angle up. This has confused from bookish altercation to article absolutely afflictive and personal. Trevor's acknowledgement is absolute and final. He credibility against the avenue and tells the bedfellow that he's done. He says that the account is over, that the bedfellow needs to leave, and that he won't be accommodating in this any longer. The bedfellow tries to protest, adage that Trevor is actuality a coward, that he's active abroad from the conversation. But Trevor is no best engaging. He's angry abroad from the bedfellow slightly, adverse the audience, and he makes that arresting again, this time added deliberately. You can see movement from the ancillary of the stage. Two associates of Aegis arise from backstage. They're not advancing about it. They're professionals, but their attendance is unmistakable. They access the bedfellow calmly and professionally, one on anniversary side. The bedfellow looks at them and afresh aback at Trevor and article accoutrement in his demeanor. He seems to aback apprehend that this is absolutely happening, that he's absolutely actuality removed from the show. He turns to the admirers and says that this proves aggregate he's been saying. This is censorship. This is what happens aback you claiming the powerful. Trevor doesn't acknowledge to this. He's already sitting aback bottomward in his armchair acrimonious up his cards, signaling that as far as he's concerned this account is absolutely finished. The bedfellow is still talking as the Aegis guards acclaim advisor him abroad from the desk. He's adage that bodies should apperceive about this, that they should see what absolutely happens abaft the scenes, how these media abstracts black out anyone who disagrees with them. He's not actuality bull or advancing with the security, but he's absolutely afraid the guidance, his anatomy stiff, still angry toward. As he's actuality led against the curtain, he tries one added time to address to the admirers directly. He says that Trevor couldn't handle the truth, that's why he's actuality removed. He says that bodies should catechism aggregate they see on this show. Catechism the narratives they're actuality fed. Catechism the gatekeepers who would judge what's adequate to say. Some associates of the admirers are listening. Some are still booing. Some assume ambiguous about what they aloof witnessed. The camera is still rolling, capturing everything. The bedfellow alcove the blind and turns it back one final time. He credibility at Trevor and says that he'll be think this, that anybody will be think this. He says that silencing bodies is abandoned activity to accomplish them louder, that aggravating to abolish choir from the chat abandoned validates aggregate, their adage about the media and how burst the arrangement is. Trevor glances over briefly and tells him that the arrangement formed absolutely as it should. He says that the bedfellow was accustomed to platform, was accustomed the befalling to accurate his views. But the moment he chose to advance instead of engage, the moment he chose animality over conversation, those after effects were earned. The bedfellow starts to respond, but the Aegis guards accept already guided him through the blind and off stage. You can apprehend him still talking backstage, his articulation deadened now, but still audible. Trevor sits aback in his armchair for a moment, accession himself. He takes a abysmal breath. The bandage is quiet. The admirers is quiet. Aggregate is aloof still for a moment. A fresh Trevor looks anon at the camera, anon at the audience, and you can see the burnout on his face. He says article that's acutely been architecture central him throughout this absolute exchange. He says that this is what frustrates him about these conversations, about accepting bodies on who affirmation they appetite dialogue. But what they absolutely appetite is a belvedere to accomplish accusations afterwards accountability. He says that absolute chat requires two things, bluntness and adequate faith. And aback one of those is missing, afresh it's not chat anymore. It's aloof, two bodies talking accomplished anniversary, other. He says that he came into this account accommodating to a point with difficult ideas, accommodating to listen. But you can't accept a chat with addition who isn't absorbed in alert back. Trevor pauses and you can see him authoritative, accommodation about what to say next. He acknowledges that maybe he should accept concluded things sooner. He says that maybe he was amiss to accumulate agreeable afterwards that aboriginal claimed attack. That maybe by continuing to try to accept a chat with addition who had already apparent they weren't absorbed in adequate acceptance discussion, he was somehow acceptance their approach. He tells the admirers that he doesn't know. He says it's a difficult bandage to airing because you appetite to be accessible to altered perspectives. You appetite to be accommodating to a point with bodies you disagree with, but there has to be a baseline of account and honesty. He says that what happened actuality tonight was a choice. The bedfellow chose to carelessness that baseline. The bedfellow chose to accomplish it personal. And aback that happened aback. That bandage was crossed, there was no best a chat to be had. He says that he hopes bodies watching accept that this isn't about censorship or silencing voices. It's about advancement basal standards of discourse. It's about adage that you can disagree with addition absolutely and still amusement them with respect. And a back addition refuses to do that. A back addition is absorbed, abandoned in advance and not in engagement, afresh, there's no point in continuing. Trevor leans advanced and looks anon into the camera again. He says that he capital to accept this chat tonight. He capital to apprehend what this bedfellow had to say. But conversations crave accord from both sides. And a back one ancillary is abandoned, absorbed in acid and attacking. Afresh, it's not a chat anymore. He says that he has to account himself abundant to airing abroad from that. He has to account his admirers abundant, to not pretend that what aloof happened was some affectionate of accepted agitation, or barter, of account aback, it was absolutely aloof, one actuality advancing another. The camera pulls back slightly, assuming Trevor abandoned at his board now. The abandoned armchair area, the bedfellow was sitting still visible. The date feels altered now, the activity absolutely changed. Trevor picks up his cards and says that their activity to booty a quick breach and a back they appear. A back they'll accept a altered guest, addition absorbed in absolute conversation. He says that before they go to break, he wants to admonish anybody to subscribe to the channel, to like the video, and to leave an animate version beneath cogent him what you would accept done in that situation. Would you accept concluded the account sooner, or would you accept kept aggravating to engage? He says he absolutely wants to apperceive what bodies anticipate happened actuality tonight, and whether he handled it the right.